Hey, what's up, guys? Thank you all for hanging out with me today. So I have got something really cool for you guys today. It's a cordless battery airbrush. I don't know about you guys, but I have been wanting to get my hands on one of these for a long time. And today I'm going to be putting this thing through its paces so you and I can know if this thing's any good. Does it work? Will it last long enough to do a painting? So that's what we're doing today. So this is the brush I'm talking about. It is, you can see it. It's the I-BEAUTEE. This is how it's branded. Let's see, the box says it is the I-BEAUTEE METU 30 Pro Series. That's METU 30 Pro Series. So that is it. You can see the handle. This is the battery, and it's got a pump in it, a compressor. Real quick, I want to go over some of the specifications on this airbrush. See, this is the user's manual. On the back of this, it says, okay, model number METU 30. Charging, it'll charge in 1.5 hours. It's got a USB-C Type-C connector on the bottom. That's the charger. 2000 mAh battery. So yeah, charge in 1.5 hours. They say that this will work for about an hour. There you go, that is it. This is the I-BEAUTEE airbrush. We're gonna put it through its paces, and so let's get to it. Yeah, so right off the bat, what I've noticed about this airbrush is there's no button to turn on the air compressor on this thing. You just simply push the trigger down, and the compressor starts in it, and then it stops when you let go. Otherwise, this is just a typical double action airbrush, it looks like. Alright guys, so I'm starting off this ocean wave painting with Createx. This is blue, let's see, 5106 bright blue. So right off the bat, I could tell that using Createx, even though it's pretty thin, was still a little bit too thick for this airbrush, so I had to thin it. I ended up thinning it about 20%. So after that, it seems to flow pretty good. So yeah, I'm just mapping out the water, and there's the surf line where where the water is going to wash up on the beach. I did speed this up about 5 or 6 times the original speed, so you know, we don't have a full hour video on our hands. But yeah, right here I'm just blending in the sky. Now I'm doing the water line. I just used the paper straight edge. I'm doing some ocean ripples there. Now, of course, I'm doing some clouds. I do have a reference that I used just for the sky and the clouds, just to get it's a sunset reference, and that's so I can get a good idea of how the colors blend and make it look as natural as possible. Now, this painting is not supposed to be like photorealistic by any means. It's basically just a really nice, detailed version of my t-shirt design. So yeah, and being that this is a gravity feed airbrush, I like to do most all of the whatever color I'm using. I like to stick with that color as long as possible, because you know, you do have to rinse and change colors in between. Every time you want to change colors, you got to rinse that thing out. So now it looks like I've switched over, and I've added just a drop of green in my blue, and maybe even less than a drop. It's just kind of giving me a aqua color. When I use those top feed airbrushes, I like to mix the colors inside that container on top of the airbrush. Okay, so now I've switched over to opaque white. So in that sky, these clouds, they're going to be different colors, and I'm using transparent. So like that, the clouds right there, it's going to be mostly oranges and yellows. And of course, if I do transparent yellow over that blue, it's gonna turn green. So I'm going to give it a white undercoat there so that it looks yellow and not green. So yeah, I had to thin down, like I said, I thinned down that white quite a bit, and I got a little run right there, so I had to wipe it off and paint over it and then hit it with the heat gun. Okay, adding in some white highlights down there where the surf comes in. Okay, so right there, what I've done, I've got a piece of metal on the back of that board so that when I lay a stencil of some sort down, I can use magnets to hold the stencil in place. That way I'm not always using one hand, and it kind of holds it there. So that's a pretty neat little trick if any of you all want to try that. It works pretty good, as you can see. This is orange, and I've mixed about 50-50 orange and yellow. And this is some red. I'm coming back in to deepen up that orange a little bit. On the left. Okay, so yeah, right here I'm coming back in with the white. And then what I'll do after I put the highlights on those clouds, I'm going to come back in with a really reduced, thinned out yellow. Okay, yeah, right there. And that's going to, so that white isn't so overbearing. So that way the yellow is a little bit lighter, but you can still see that that's a highlight on those clouds. Okay, so now I'm coming back in with the white. Just building colors here, and then of course those soft clouds way up high. Alright, so that's going to do it for the sky for now. Alright, so I've got the white in my hand still, I think. Or what did I do here? Okay, no, I've mixed a deep blue. So I've used that same bright blue, and I've mixed in a few drops of purple and one drop of black. So that's giving us a really dark blue color. So now I'm just putting in shading in all these dark areas. See that little ocean wave I'm starting to form there at the bottom, right below that big wave. Okay, now I'm coming back in with the white. So this is that surf, that foamy, the way ocean water does. It's foaming at the top. Looks like I'm running out of battery here. Let's wait and see. Yeah, the white's struggling. Well, looks like that's it, guys. The pressure is running out. The battery needs to be charged. But I think it did pretty good so far. I spent a lot of time rinsing out, so I used a lot of the battery doing that. But I got quite a bit done in an hour's worth of battery charge. So I'm going to put this on the charger, and we'll see how much longer it takes to finish this thing. Alright guys, so the battery is charged, and I'm back in with the white. Just forming the foamy part of that wave where it's coming over and crashing. It's making that big splash. So as you can see right now, it is really bright white. I'm going to come back, like I said, these are transparent. I'm going to use transparent blue to come back over and tone down that white a little bit so it looks a little bit more natural. That's the foam that's in the water that you see in salt water. You can see that everywhere in salt water, so I'm going to try my best to, it almost looks like veins. You're just kind of, making it all squiggly in through there, and then you got to keep the perspective right and make, because it's going in a different direction on the flat part of the water there as opposed to where the wave is going up. So that is right there where I highlighted. That's a highlight from where the sun is setting in the background, and that's the bright part coming down there. And this is more highlights and surf marks. There's like a little water ripple over on that left side. Add some highlights to that water in the background. So yeah, once you start building the white, this painting will really start to come together. It's hard not to overdo it with the white. So now I've mixed up a, this is blue. Normally I was thinning it 20%. On this one I think I thinned it more like 50-50 water to paint ratio, because I really wanted it to go on lightly. So I didn't want to have too much coverage. So yeah, now I'm going back to that mixture of blue with a couple drops of purple and then 1 drop of black. And I'm going back into really darkening these areas, like that dark shadow under the ocean wave where it's folded over. Okay, now I'm starting with the sand. This is a mixture of brown and yellow. Kind of gives you that golden brown color. I'm going to attempt to put some in, there we go, yeah, in the water, so it looks like the water is a little bit clear. As it's folding over, you would actually see the sand through the water, so I'm going to try to create that effect. So now I've mixed up a darker brown. I mixed up a few drops of purple and probably a drop of black, I can't remember. But this is, you know, when water hits the sand and then it starts to fall back, that sand is a darker shade. So that's kind of the effect I'm attempting to go with there. That paint is really wet, so I have to hit it with a, you can use a hair dryer, but I'm using a heat gun. And a heat gun's fine as long as you don't keep it in one spot. You keep that thing moving, and that way it doesn't get too hot. So yeah, now I'm coming in with the white. I'm gonna build those that foamy white part of the water, all the reflections and the light. But yeah, it should look real foamy even right there at the edge, and you can kind of see the effect of how it's clear and you can see the sand through it. Now I'm building the white parts of the wave again. It kind of gives it more of a three-dimensional look there. Highlighting the top of it, making a little bit of spray coming off the top of that wave. Alright, now I decided that this painting needed a palm tree, at least part of a palm hanging over the top there, so I'm roughing it in freehand. I'm going to use a split paper technique to sharpen up some of those leaves. I'll show you that here in just a minute. Okay, here we go. So you can see basically what I've done. Let's see if I'll slow this down a little bit. But what I've done is I've just cut a curved line into a plain piece of paper, and then when I spread that paper, it gives us like a point, like it's thicker, it's wider at the back, and it goes in to a point at the bottom. So it gives us a really nice shape to those palm leaves. It's a really cool technique. It's an illustrator's technique. So I haven't really used it a lot, but I thought it would really work well with this application, and it does. So after I spray it, you can see that I'm blowing it with that airbrush, and that's just to dry the paint. This stuff, like I said, is thin, and it has to be thin. This thing sprays at 27 psi. So it has to be thin if you want it to spray really well. Alright, so I'm going to do one more leaf hanging over. Freehand that, kind of map it in, and start to draw on the leaves, and then I'll put some sharper leaves with that paper shield. There we go. Sometimes the paper fights with you a little bit, but that's okay. These leaves don't have to be perfect, in nature they really go everywhere. They're not perfect. So now we're just building it up, or I'm just building it up. I'm forming it in the shapes that I want. Yeah, I'm liking that. Yep, liking that a lot. Okay, so right here what I've done is I've gone in on the computer and sized and printed these silhouettes of seagulls, and I've picked a couple that I thought would look good, and I've cut them out with an X-Acto blade. And I'm just going to put some real little seagull silhouettes. Just picked a couple different wing shapes. You definitely don't want to use the same stencil over and over and over again. That just wouldn't look natural at all. Alright, so that first one I didn't get quite black enough, so I'm going to go back over it. Hopefully I line it up just right. I'm going to go ahead and spray it to make sure that paint's dry. I'm going to line that up just a little bit better. So yeah, that worked pretty good. This is the final piece. I am really happy with how this painting came out. You guys let me know what you think of it down in the comments. Alright guys, that's going to do it for this video. Thank you guys for hanging out with me and checking it out. So, final thoughts on the I-BEAUTEE Cordless Battery Airbrush. I liked it. Thought it was a pretty good airbrush. When I first got into it, I was a little bit worried because there is a little bit of a learning curve as far as how it feels and you know, the whole process of making it work. And also it's a gravity feed airbrush that I'm not personally used to. So it is, the weight, the feel, everything, it's hard to get used to, but about maybe 30 minutes into the painting, I really got the hang of it and I thought it performed very well. After I got done with the entire painting, I used about a battery and a half. So, you know, it's about a 2-hour painting. So, I mean, I can't really complain too much. Battery airbrush performed really well. If you're interested in checking out this airbrush for yourself, I, of course, will have a link in the description. I'll have links to all the stuff that I used, all the materials, everything, paints, in the description. So go ahead and check that out if you're interested. And also, if you're new here, please consider subscribing to the channel, joining our airbrush family, and maybe like it and share this video. So yeah guys, there we go. Thanks a lot, and I will see you on the next one.